Yes, folks are going to post all sorts of things from their visit to the Guinness Storehouse in Dublin, Ireland, but we're striving to make sure that we give you as much information as possible to enjoy your visit thoroughly here on All Streets Gourmand. The iconic Irish stout, steeped in its lovely barley-based glory, had its origins with Arthur Guinness's bold start, using a 100-pound bequeathment and turning that into a 4-acre brewery with a 9,000-year-old lease. Now that is all widely known, but what really makes the Guinness Storehouse stand out is it's actually one of the best attractions in Dublin. Well appointed and a great example of how to make a brewery tour a well-realized attraction. We had a great time, and like many tourist websites, we're going to tell you the same thing. It is a must-do while you're there. The Storehouse is a wee bit west of Dublin city centre, north of an area called the Rialto. Getting around Dublin isn't too difficult. We chose to drive while we were there and picked up the whole left side of the driving pretty quickly. Parking isn't too difficult there inside Dublin, but we highly recommend you do your research. That goes without saying. For those driving, there is a Guinness parking area. If you're going to the Storehouse, we found that it was actually full most of the time. But there is a Q Park just a little bit east of there that we actually used quite a bit. It was well located and let us get around other places in the area for our stay. It is a bit of a hike, either if you're going to the Guinness parking or from the Q Park, but it was ultimately worth it. We recommend getting there not any earlier than 20 minutes. Also keep in mind that you don't get access to anything while you're there, like the store, without that ticket. Other breweries that we visited around the world actually allow you to get into the store at least without a ticket, but in this case, that's not the case. So showing up without anything planned is probably not a good idea either, especially because the timing and the amount of the tours seem to be limited to certain numbers. The area around is fairly rural and not a ton to do, but we did find a very vibrant coffee culture around the perimeter of the 4-acre property. We ultimately landed, because we did have to wait to go in, at an Art of Coffee. It's a number 8, just feet away, until we burned off enough time to come back over again. And this was a great place because it had a place to sit, it had some restrooms, and served some delicious coffee. So we had actually a really nice time just waiting for our time to come up. And so we do recommend that cafe. Now the tour. The tour itself is self-guided, hallelujah. This allows you to settle in some areas that you're more interested in and pass quickly through others. But this is all well thought out. There is a narrative that runs through it as a thread, as if to say, in a way, this is your journey. And that's kind of a nice way of approaching things like a museum or a brewery tour. It's kind of your personal journey through Guinness, and it brings to you your own experience. I feel like you kind of take away a little bit for yourself, and I like that quite a bit. If you were to take your time, you can get some really good ideas on how Guinness came to be. So again, if you're taking your time throughout the tour, you can settle in on some things, read a little bit more about the history of it. The different displays and the different areas that you will explore lapse between pretty hardcore science and some very, very whimsical about the stout, about its marketing, about its iconic branding. Just overall, it's a lot of fun because it allows you to focus on what you want to, and the other people in your party can do the same. So everybody's persuasion, in essence, will get entertained by that. And it did seem to be really well suited for almost every age group in your tour. And the coup d'etat of the whole affair is that you do get to settle at the very end of your tour a drink at the top of the Storehouse, which has the absolute best unobstructed view of the entire city of Dublin. We know that people talk about it, but I have to put asterisks and stars around it. It is actually one of the best views of the city. It allows you to kind of get a sense of the city And whenever you can find that, wherever you're traveling, that's always a plus, because I feel like you really just get a sense of the area and what you need to find there. And you get all the Guinness you can drink. And I mean all the Guinness you can drink. For someone like me, I went all in and enjoyed myself quite a bit. A stout, you're not going to just drink a ton of anyway, but it's very enjoyable, of course. Again, a very iconic brand and iconic stout. We definitely encourage you to check out the website before you go. Not only is there the tour and world-class merchandise, but there are a variety, and we didn't know this, a variety of different bars on different levels, a variety of different restaurants that are dotted throughout the complex. You can get everything from more boutique tastes to quick service to full service. And I'm not joking when I say this, but you probably could have spent a lot more time here, and that was one of the things I walked away from, was had another day or other plans, or you have the time. I would really say that you could probably do quite a bit there in almost a full day. So a couple of tricks for your visit. Not only do you need tickets, but timing is important. We do not recommend going too late in the day. We actually saw some people coming in at the very end. We found the storehouse closes relatively early, and you want to maximize at least some of your time there. The self-guided tour can go as fast or as slow as you want to make it, but we believed it relatively timed in at about a 40-minute to an hour. This includes the idea that you might not be aware of, that there are interactive areas like tasting areas that maybe you want to explore or go back. There's one room with a barley smell where they were kind of infusing things. I actually went through there twice because it was just really fascinating and the smells were really interesting from a gourmand perspective. So remember, that's actually another tip. You can do areas over and over again as you like, so make sure to give yourself enough time so that way you can do that or give yourself that availability. We didn't know that there was going to be live entertainment there. There is a large beer hall there. And so not only the beer hall, the bar on one end, the band on the other, that was a very nice surprise. They were playing very traditional Irish music. They lapsed into Irish pop music. So it was just a great experience to kind of get infused with some of the local culture from that perspective. We talked about the restaurants. I would say to you, if you look closely, there are some unique experiences that come along with those restaurants. So if you want to talk with your party and decide on that, reservations are recommended, because not only do you have to think about the admission, but you're going to have to also think of the reservation to make sure that you do get a spot. We did notice that the main restaurant, kind of the higher end restaurant, was full, was packed. Consider too that there are some great spots in the main viewing area, but please know that it gets absolutely packed in there, and I mean shoulder to shoulder. If you're not shy like me, you're going to muscle your way over to the bar and you're going to grab your Guinness. And if you can, muscle your way over to a window so that way you can see it. It's just, again, spectacular views. If you get there early enough, you might be able to park for a while and find a really good spot and able to sit and really enjoy and take in the views. I can really see that whole area just being beautiful on a day when it's not very crowded and you can kind of enjoy everything. Very friendly staff, just a really good experience overall. The exhibits themselves are very social worthy, so expect to give yourself some time to take those photos, see those social little areas. They do have one-of-a-kind shots that you're definitely going to enjoy and see. Also keep in mind when you leave, that might be it. I don't know about them allowing you back in there. I thought I saw a couple of folks that kind of sweet talked their way back in, but it didn't seem like that was an easy thing to do, so just keep that in mind. The other thing too is the shop is amazing. It is probably the biggest shop that you're going to find if you're a big Guinness fan and you want to find things. It felt like almost like an IKEA. It was so large and there were so many different items to sort through. So give yourself some time for that. Give yourself some budget for that. The closest store for me is over in Las Vegas, which is very cute. I'm glad it's there at the Mandalay Bay. But the dispersion of merchandise is just not going to be the same. All right, so we're not going to leave here without giving you some sort of recipe to try. Now, this is a nice one. The story for us is the very first night that we went out, we were actually staying at an Airbnb in the middle of the country. There was a small pub restaurant that we went to, very friendly staff there as well. Saw it was our first night and said, why don't you start off with a tourist Guinness? Never heard of a tourist Guinness, so of course I'm going to say yes. Talked with the bartender a bit about it. Now this is designed for tourists that might not like the stout flavor. That's not me, but I was more interested in knowing a new drink. And so what they do is they put a bit of elderberry liqueur. They pour it into the glass, into the pint before they pour the Guinness. And the sweetness and the berry flavors really do even it out. Why I recommend it out here or anywhere else where you're not getting some fresh Guinness out of a tap is it just really smooths out the flavor. It gives it a different tonality, which I really enjoyed. So we're going to impart that to you, and I think you kind of just heard a little bit of how to make it. So, but what you're not aware of is that the best Guinness is a can. There's some debate online about it. You go to Guinness's official site, you can taste it yourself. There's a massive difference between the bottle and the can. The can has a very small nitrogen widget in there that was designed for this purpose, and it is meant to infuse it with nitrogen once you open the can. The bottle doesn't do that. So take your glass, put a bit of the elderberry in there. The liqueur probably just needs, I would say, about a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half. You don't want to overpower it. I'd say that's just enough to even it out. Once you have it in the glass, kind of move it around a bit to kind of cover the bottom part of it. And then do your Guinness pour after you open the can. So you want to make sure that you have a bit of head on your glass. Head is actually critical to the experience. More and more you know about Guinness, the more and more you'll realize that. Now a bit of a bonus, outside of the liqueur, if you have access to getting some nice elderberries, throw those in there too. When I was in Galway, I actually had that. They actually had some at the bottom. That was just another nice touch. It's a little bit more difficult to get elderberries here, but hopefully you can find some and enjoy that as well. And there you have it. We always try to enable you to make these little gems on your own with little fuss and little muss. So with that, we hope you found some tricks enlightening you for your visit to the Guinness Storehouse, and hope that you are able to visit soon. They are celebrating their 25 years this year of the Storehouse experience. Please check out more of our iLearn videos on YouTube and on Instagram. We hope that they can entice you to make the trip over to the Emerald Isles and have a much better time of it. More at allstreetsgourmand.com.